All right, so welcome back to our channel, Rise of the Feminine. Today we're going to jump into the topic of twin flames that became a huge part of our spiritual journey. And there's a lot of stuff surrounding it. Not a whole lot of it I feel is very accurate, to be honest. But this is a conversation that we end up having pretty often, like pretty much daily. We're talking about something twin flame related, not always about our masculine. A lot of it is the shifts in the energy that we're feeling, and we'll be like, hey, are you feeling this? And we'll realize we're both feeling it, and then we'll come across other stuff where other females in the collective are feeling that as well. So, or I should say feminines, not females. So it's just something we enjoy to talk about.
Enjoy to talk about. That's like how we first started talking.
yeah That is how we first started talking. That's right.
Yeah, I know.
So,
and
yeah, a little background story. We didn't even know each other. We had a mutual friend who I didn't even realize she heard me talking about twin flame stuff before, because I wasn't very open about it, just because I didn't know any other twin flames. I first came across it. I had this boyfriend when I was like 16 years old, and it came in very strong feelings. Like right away, I felt a super strong connection. And then it kind of like, we went into our separation, and I always knew there was something more. Like I wasn't, I was just at the very like little bits of spirituality. Like I knew that there was another side, and I knew about spirits, and there was a higher power. That was it. And as time went on, like I knew that like there was something more to this connection. And then like I dug deeper, and that's when I came across twin flames. Turned out he wasn't my true twin flame, but it kind of like that started me on the journey, and really recognizing what it was and what our purpose is. But I don't recall ever even mentioning anything to her about it. And yeah, so I don't even know if she brought it up to you.
My end of the story. So I was working on, now we're both working on in Divine Feminine Oracle card deck. And I wanted to get some photographs done like for the deck. And my mom actually got some photos done from this friend that we both knew. And my mom's like, well, why don't you go to her? Like, I really liked the pictures. I liked her work. So I decided to have a meeting with her at a coffee shop. And I was kind of explaining like, have you ever heard the term like twin flames? And I wanted to get this oracle deck done. And she's like, oh, I wanted to start doing like, more fun projects than, just taking pictures. Like she wanted to do like something different.
Yeah.
And she's like, I actually have like a friend, Tara, and she talks about twin flames, and she is one. And she's like, I'm going to ask if she can, if I can give her, or if I can give you her information. And I'm like, oh yeah, sure. And then like, that's kind of like we talked like a very little bit.
Yeah.
And then I think it took about a year or so before we started like actually talking. Yeah.
But what? It was because when she first brought that up, that was before I even met my true twin.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I finally met him, it was a whole shift. And then, and that's when you and I started talking more. And then it's been like every day ever since.
And I'm not sure like who, like after that period of time where we like didn't really talk, like I can't remember who like initiated the first like message. I don't know. It's been so long. I don't even know who started it, but
it is like, I didn't even remember. And then I was like, oh yeah, there's this person. And yeah, I don't remember either. And we write too much. There's no way we're backtracking that.
Oh no, there's no way. It's been about 2 years now. So
Yep.
We've been talking every day since then.
Like, I know. Well, it's definitely, it has been a freaking roller coaster.
And like, I think, Oh yeah. And I think like that's we're really lucky because I don't think on this journey like there's that many people that connect, you know,
No.
divine feminines that connect on this journey. And luckily, like we only live like 40 minutes away from each other.
Yeah.
And I don't think that happens very often.
Mm-mm.
And a lot of the journey, like huge part of the journey, I've felt very alone. Like I
Yeah.
had no one to talk to
Mm-hmm.
about it. I felt a lot of the time that I was insane.
Exactly. Well, because even like I had spiritual friends, but
Mhm.
they don't understand like it, like no matter how spiritual they are, they don't understand this aspect of it because they're not on that journey. And
And that's
so,
another thing too. Like there's so like I want to like talk about this more on a different podcast, a different episode, but
mhm,
the controversy between does everyone have a twin flame or does like or do they not? Like to me
mhm,
personally, I do not think that everyone does because if that was the case, everyone would be going through the
mhm.
same things and they're not. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, they're just not awakening to it in this lifetime. Well, no, because if they say that, you know, you have to ascend to a certain degree in order to split into two souls. So you're
Yeah.
saying that everyone on this planet has divided
Hmm.
and is on this journey. Like that is not possible. I just don't see how that's even a thing.
Yeah.
Like there's no way. Like
Yeah.
like I'm not on like certain journeys. Does that mean that I'm just not awakening to it? And
Yeah.
like that's just not, I don't know. I don't see how that's even possible. I don't agree with it. Um I'm sure other people will disagree with me,
Hmm.
but I really don't care. I just don't
Yeah.
see that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And another one is like the whole not all twin flames are meant to come together.
Mhm.
Why would we incarnate in this lifetime together? Why would we have this potential to grow and ascend and bring, get to this level of consciousness and bring ourselves back together? Like, there's a reason why we're a magnet,
Mhm.
like, I just have a hard time. Do I feel like they're all gonna make it? No. Like, I'm
Mhm.
sure some of them aren't. Like, they're on their own individual journey, and if they are not kind of grasping the lessons and growing, sure, they might not make it, but I
Right.
don't feel like that's the case for everyone where like we're not meant to be together. Like I fully, based on like the things I felt, the shifts I've gone through, and I didn't always believe this, that, better than anyone that didn't always think like it was gonna come back around, but I just like it's just like one of those things,
Mhm.
and I don't really know how else to explain it.
Even like with me, like there's periods where I'm like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Pardon my language. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this anymore. Like
Yeah.
I'm so over it. It's been so long. It's been
Mm-hmm.
well, actually, like I met him 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
About yeah.
Which I find interesting because I think so. I didn't meet my true twin until 2 years ago. But when I became awakened to what twin flames were, it was around that same time frame.
Mhm. So I think maybe like we should have separate episodes of like your full on story and like mine. And when I know for sure, like I've got the time to
Yeah,
to
yeah,
sit, like we can, and sit there and go through that, pick at that. But kind of like our main like beliefs when it comes to this entire topic
yeah,
right now. It's
yeah.
I, and like with like everyone's supposed to like reunite in this lifetime, like I'm not. And also I feel like a big factor in that too is when they say like when you finally reunite and are in harmonious union,
Mhm,
it's your last lifetime
mhm.
on this planet. Well, I don't believe that everyone, the ones that aren't meant to reunite in this lifetime, maybe this is not their last lifetime here.
Yeah,
And it's a possibility. Like I guess no one really knows.
yeah,
Everyone's got their own beliefs, whether they're mediums, channels, whatever, like
Yeah.
there's totally different things out there that, oh, this is true, that is true. Well,
Mhm.
I think it's all about what you believe.
Yeah. Yeah. And you
And
really have to, the more open you are, I feel, to all possibilities, and the more you deepen into your healing, the more it comes clear on what it is for you. Like
mhm,
none of us can say that's how it's going to be for everyone. And
right. And
another
they're not
thing,
always romantic either. So
oh,
it's like it's
oh,
so
that's that's the
huh?
one thing that gets me is the over romanticization of it.
Oh yeah.
Like all, so many people are like, oh, this is my twin flame, we're so in love. And it's like, you didn't go
You
through
got a job to
on
do.
the journey. Like that's a soulmate, sweetheart. Like,
Hmm.
no judgment, but like that's the one thing that kind of gets me. And then all these people think like, oh, this is my twin flame, but it's super toxic.
Right.
And then they build all this like resentment and hatred and then like knock all twin flames. And it's like, that sounds more like a karmic relationship, not a
Hmm.
twin flame relationship. And there's just so much misunderstanding around just the whole topic in general and what this
Oh
connection
yeah.
really means. And like, is it a roller coaster? Yeah. Was there, you know, could he have treated me better? Yeah. But he had his own healing that he had to do. So, like, the stuff that I was like, well, that was really shitty. Yeah, it was shitty, but it wasn't the intent wasn't, the bad intent
Hmm.
wasn't there. The ill intent wasn't there. You know what I mean? And I think so many people get kind of confused with that when they're in these toxic relationships that they can't break free from. They want to put a label on it. And like that's where people start confusing it, and they accuse it of being like a narcissistic situation and stuff like
Right.
that. And having both experiences, both being with a narcissist at one point and then also having the experience with my twin, it's just a totally different dynamic.
And soulmates are completely different too.
Yeah.
They're all completely different relationships, but in connections, but they're all very important.
Yeah.
I even karmics are important.
Mm-hmm.
And um even despite like your counterparts karmic, no matter how much they get to you, they're still important, you
I
know.
know.
Yeah, I know.
I still ain't gotta like them though.
No, but they're very important part of the process.
No, they are.
And like I really don't, that's a whole new chapter that I'm starting to get into here with the whole are they supposed to be around or not type thing. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's more once I get more perspective and get more clarity on that, what I'm going through right now. I think that I will be ready to discuss it. It's just uh the part of this that I'm in right now is a little confusing
Mm-hmm.
at this point. Um no one really knows like what to do. So like even with all of these like twin flame gurus or whatever,
Yeah.
they tell you I have all these classes and how to do it and how to reach this. And it's like, yeah, but it's like every single one is completely different and everyone's lives are different. How
Yeah.
can you sit there and try and teach this when you've only, it's not like, oh, I've gotten all of these people into union, when I really don't believe that's the case either. Like,
Yeah.
I really don't think that people should be, I mean, if it worked for you, fantastic, but I don't really believe that
Yeah.
you should be teaching this when it's like you've only done this one time, just like the rest of us.
Yeah. Well, and
Not
too,
like
like
you've,
first with like those classes typically have a really high price point.
oh, yeah.
One thing
Oh,
that
yeah.
deters me from them. And
Hmm.
two, it's like we're being guided to learn and grow. So that's really what it's about. And it doesn't matter, and I've noticed before, like I've come across, like I've thought of certain lessons before and I've experienced the different lessons and I've gone through them. And it wasn't until it clicked. And it's like, I
Mm-hmm.
knew all those things before, but it never clicked before. So it's like, regardless of what you're being taught and what you're doing, like there's still that point where it's going to shift. Like, I don't think you can really rush it.
No, and that's what I don't really understand why they say that, because it's like, oh, if you take my $2,000 class, it'll get you there so much faster. No, it won't, because there's so many, you can't fast forward the events that haven't even taken place yet.
Yeah.
That is a part of your growth and their
Yeah.
growth and your triggers and your mission. Like, you cannot rush all that in 1 month.
No.
That's insane. And it's just insane for people to think that that's gonna work.
Yeah. Well, and too, like the healing aspects of it, they take a long time to like go through and feel them, learn the lesson, and then grow from them. Like that, you can't just like, okay, I got it. I learned this from it. Like
You can't do all that in weeks.
no, like you really have to fully feel it and process it and integrate it. And it's just it's not like I think people kind of want to do it like, when you memorize for a test and you do this quick stuff to try to memorize it and you do well on the test, but you don't remember any of that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's kind of what it's like. If you're like trying to rush it, you're not fully integrating it and you're just going to repeat the same cycle again because you didn't fully heal and feel through it.
Right. And it just, those things make me laugh. So if you have heard everything so far and you're agreeing with what we're saying, then this is probably the channel for you. So it's like we're kind of hitting our key points and our, laying the groundwork on what our journeys are and what we believe so far. So keep listening. We got a lot more to say.
Oh, I know. There's just so much on this topic, especially with there's so many different.
So no, we are not gurus. We're not going to sit there and tell you how to get there when we haven't even gotten there ourselves. No. This is just us experiencing it with all of you guys. So
yeah. And the nice thing about it is like, how many times have we talked and we're like, we help each other. I think the reason why we're doing so much growing together is because we're having these conversations. I like to call them conscious conversations because like we're just back and forth and it really is like raising our vibration and bringing a deeper awareness to what we're talking about. And then with each other, we have like those aha moments where, oh, we didn't really think about it that way before. And
it's like ping pong.
Yeah, it just like completely facilitated our growth, like being able to do this with one another. And I could not imagine like still doing this on my own. Like I don't think I'd be anywhere near as far as where I'm at without us doing this on a regular basis.
Oh, I completely agree. Like, and I think, when we were first talking about us doing things together, like I feel like that's why we were brought together is to, start doing things like this. And I think we're at that point where we're ready. We research, we experience, we've been doing this every day for the last 2 years together and apart. I think we're ready to start sharing and helping. So,
yeah. So in case if anybody's starting this and they don't really know what the twin flame journey is, it is basically another part of your soul in a different body. And when you first come together, like you feel that love and you feel that connection, but then you go into separation. We usually go through the runner chaser phase. You trigger one another into deeper healing because they mirror you and you see all your wounds and what needs healing. And it's a very difficult process. Like there's wounds that I didn't even know existed and they stemmed back not only in this lifetime into childhood, but in previous lifetimes, that different things that all come up for healing. And I don't think for everybody it happens. For me, it was kind of a back and forth, like you run into them again, you get triggered again, and you have a whole nother round of healing to go through. sometimes people get involved with other karmics, and then you have that whole dynamic to work through and heal through.
This is
And
probably like the
eventually-
10th time for
Yeah.
me.
to eventually, you release all that, you go through all of your healing, you do the deep shadow work. There is the obsession phase that a lot of feminines face. You have to work on breaking free from.
That
And-
felt like forever.
Yeah. And really focusing on yourself and growing and evolving, figuring out what I think a huge part of this is doing all the healing and then finding your purpose after that.
Mm-hmm.
And then for those who are going to come together, once you're both at that more of a healed version of yourself and you're in that alignment, that same vibration, then you're able to come back together.
Yeah, they're your perfect mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of things that I see in him that I don't want to admit is also an issue for me too. Like,
Yeah.
except it's just in a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm gonna mute myself for a second.
Okay.
Keep talking.
I don't know what to talk about.
Difficult to do with him here.
Yeah.
Oh, yep, we might have to wrap this up pretty
Okay.
soon because he's
Okay.
coming right back up.
You just want to finish what you were talking about, and then I can do like a closing
I
thing.
got my helicopter.
What was I talking about? I forgot.
Oh shoot.
You got to charge it.
You were talking about things you saw in him that you see in you, but you didn't really want to like.
Oh yeah, like when it came to commitment, big time. Like he has bounced around like since us, like our first time together.
Mhm. I did.
Right. I'm almost done. Can you go sit down in the living room, please? And I'll charge it when I get downstairs. Yeah, I'm almost done. I need you to sit tight for a couple more minutes. Anyway, so he has probably been Jackson, can you stop, please?
No.
We gotta finish up, buddy. It's gonna take even longer.
Okay. So, so he has since the first time that we actually like were in a physical,
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
It was a year ago, or no, 2 years ago. So 2020, about this time. After that, he has probably like we were on and off all 2020. And in between those and during the times that we were on, he has been with like had so many different girlfriends. He's probably had about 10 girlfriends, close to it, 9 or 10 since us the last 2 years. And like, but they don't last very long. They're like maybe 3 months tops.
Mhm.
And every single time that happened, every single time he got into a relationship, it got easier and easier to handle and deal with, because in the beginning, it was just heartbreaking to me. Like, because you think, the worthiness kicks in. It's a trigger for so many different things. But I also noticed in myself, so I haven't been in a relationship the last 5 years, like I've dated or whatever, but not an actual committed relationship, because I wouldn't do it. I refused. And it wasn't, I thought it was because of him, because I didn't want to commit, because, there's that chance that he could come back. That I don't think that was the case. I had to look at my own commitment problems. I could not commit because I feel like if I did commit, I was going to get crushed again. So I was terrified of commitment in that aspect. When on the opposite spectrum, he was terrified of it, actually, like, of being in a committed relationship, but so he keeps his relationships at a very surface level. I do the same thing, but he goes public and commits, like, in these relationships that are doomed from the beginning, that he already knows is going to fail. And then I, keep things very under the radar. Like, if I'm talking to someone or dating someone, I keep very hush hush about it. And I would not post anything on social media, like, and like, whenever they would want to take things to the next level and be public about it, I backed out. Like, nope, this is not gonna happen. So he's also, it's a mirror effect, but in an opposite way for us. It's always seemed to be that way. Which it took a long time for me to actually fully understand that and admit it. Like, not that I've ever like cheated, but it's just, and he was doing the exact opposite. Like, every time that we would reconnect, he'd be talking to someone else at the same time, which is pretty typical for a run, like, divine masculine. But like, I realized more and more. And once I first started realizing it, I started like getting depth of.
You're cutting out, hun.
Sorry, it started, an alarm went off. So it's having to admit, like, things that you don't want to admit about yourself either. And that's also, I think, a huge part of shadow work. And they show you things that you don't want, that you really don't want to see about yourself. So
no, that's when I met him, like, I thought I was good. Like, it was like 3 years after I separated from my ex-husband, and I did a lot of intense healing and mostly shamanic work to help me with that healing. So when I met him, I felt like I was in a great space. I was emotionally available, all of that. I was ready to finally have somebody. And I think I dated like one person before him, and I was just kind of like, he's not my person. And like, I did this little prayer thing, and it was just like going over like all these different things I wanted in a person. I'm like, this is what my person's gonna be like. And then I met him and I saw him and I was like, that he's it. Like, I'm like, he is my person. Like, I know this without a fucking doubt. Like, he is my person. And when we entered the separation phase, like, it devastated me. And like, it really, like, other people don't understand it because I did not know him very long. So for other people, they look at it from the outside and they're like, why was that? Like, just get over him. It's no big deal. Like, you didn't even know him that long. It's like, nobody gets like how deep that connection is. It's like when you meet somebody and it's like you've known them like for all of eternity, and you like, I didn't have a direct like remembrance of all our past lives together, but it's like you could tell like, I've loved you before and I know I have. And
other people can tell too.
Facing that rejection, like, it wasn't even so much that he rejected me and I couldn't handle rejection. It was, I couldn't trust my intuition anymore. I couldn't trust God anymore because, like, you know, you bring me this person that's literally everything I prayed for, and now look what happened. And
Mhm.
like, I think that was like the deepest, you know, that was like the hardest initial issue, was not being able to trust anything. And then going from there, you know, you go into all the deeper, like the abandonment wounds. And you know, I ended up going into past life healing and all these different other things. And then got to a point where I started realizing my issues with relationships that I didn't realize were there
Mhm.
before. And you know, like I've had, that's where we were a little different. He stayed in a long-term relationship that was very toxic. And for me, like I would go like rapidly into these relationships, but they wouldn't, we never went public or anything, because I was kind of like you, more cautious. I'm like, I don't want to show this and whatever, like if it's not going to work out. And but they would go like pretty rapidly, and then it would just like end almost as fast as it started. And I was just like, what the hell is going on here? Like, I don't get this. And it's really taking, you know, you have to step aside and look back and be like, okay, like this is a cycle. Like I'm noticing a pattern now, like what's going on here? And really realizing um like different forms of like codependency and
Mhm.
energy exchanges. And it, like with him, you know, we were a little different, but we were very similar on the same level.
Mhm.
And so it is like, it is not easy looking at yourself and being like, oh, like I thought, like because I went in with good intentions, like I thought like, oh, I was good, like I'm looking for a healthy relationship, I'm a healthy person. And then I had to look back and be like, eh, like that,
Not so much.
not so much, like that was not all that healthy. And yeah, so not everybody can do that. Like not everybody can like look at their own shit and be like, yep, I gotta fix that.
And I think a lot of the ones that do not reunite in this lifetime, like, it's not, um, it's the ones that are also willing to do the work. And if you're not willing to do that, well,
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know what, a lot of people talk about like primary soulmates and things like that. Like, I've been hearing, oh, you're supposed to be with them and not like your twin. Well, I think that also just depends. And I feel like it's a lot more commonly known in like how you said, like people confuse like karmic partners with twins,
Hmm.
because I honestly feel like, because it's like, um because of like the Megan Fox and MGK thing, where she brought out that term to everyone out in the public, like now
Hmm.
everyone thinks that everyone has one, and everyone
Yeah.
believes that, hey, this person that treats me like complete shit is my twin, so I'm just going to keep taking it. Or, oh,
Yeah.
my best friend is. And it's like, they're so rare, and you guys are all labeling it as like
Yeah.
something that's like a trend, and
Hmm.
it's really kind of frustrating, because the ones that are actually on the journey, we're not taken seriously
Yeah.
anymore. It's, oh yeah, whatever, like everyone's like, yep, everyone thinks that everyone's got one now, so I don't
Hmm.
believe that you are.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, and that's when, like, another thing too, like, that I want to bring up is, people are like, oh, there's no such thing as fake spirituality. Well, yeah, there is, when you're pretending that you're in this connection when you're not. And then the people that are actually in it and doing the hard, heavy work for years are, made fun of. Basically, it's a
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah. Well, and two, like, you know, along the fake spirituality, like you can like be like, oh, all these things are cool and do all these things. Like, oh, I'm gonna sage my place to clear out all the negative energy and I'm gonna do yoga and all this stuff. But like again, it's all surface level. Like you are
Mhm.
not doing the healing, you're not facing your past, you're not facing your past life junk that's all like held within you. And until you can face all that and release it, you're carrying all that dense energy.
Right.
And so, like, the spirituality part of it is utilizing all these tools and growing from it. And if you're not
Mhm.
growing, you're not evolving.
Mhm. And yeah, with the whole fake spirituality too, it's like I'm gonna be positive about everything all the time, and I'm just gonna pretend like there's not a fire being started behind me.
Mhm.
Like I'm
Yep,
everything's
yep.
fine, like everything's good. I'm just
I
gonna
don't see that
put
back there. Like,
yeah.
what's here?
It's the false
I know.
positivity.
But you know
It's
what?
like,
Like like it'll hit ya. That's just
mhm,
it. Like it'll freaking hit you. Like you can't fake it. And that's like I never believed in that term, like fake it till you make it. Like
mm-mm.
you can't fake it. Like the universe knows what kind of energy you're putting out there. Like there's no
Yeah.
fake that.
And I feel like if you the longer you hold on to that, like I'm gonna fake it till I make it, or I'm gonna avoid like what I'm supposed to be learning and working on,
Mhm.
that longer you stay. Oh, there's someone here. So
Alrighty.
how about you do the closing? I'll mute.
Okay. All right, so we'll finish up for today. We'll get more topics about twin flames because there's a lot that we we have talked about and there's a lot we're still experiencing. So next time I think we're gonna dive into karmic partners and exactly what that means and the different kind of situations that have come up and the different things we have kind of thought about. I kind of froze. I don't know. I started talking about the karmic part. Like, are we going to talk about karmic partners?
I think maybe that's a whole nother topic that we need to do a different
Yeah, I
episode
know. I'm
on.
saying for next time. Like, I was closing out and then trying to, should I
Yeah.
bring up a subject for next week or for
Yeah.
like the next time? Okay. Because that's what I was working on. So, alrighty. So, hold on. What were we all talking about with karmic partners? I guess kind of where we're headed on seeing where what is happening with karmic partners and like their purpose.
Yeah, because they seem to play a big theme in both of our lives right now.
Okay.
And like when especially like when we thought that it was over with these, you know,
Yeah.
people, and they're like the one of like a massive part of our lives right now, and we're not entirely sure why. It feels
Yeah.
like, you know, the deja vu,
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
different circumstances, but same energy and same feelings. And I guess we're kind of trying to both figure that out right now in our lives.
Alrighty. All right. So thanks for joining us today, talking about twin flames. We'll definitely dive into more topics regarding this theme. It's a huge part of both of our spiritual journeys. So that is what we do tend to talk about the most. Next week, we're going to dive into karmic partners though, and what they are and how they've helped us grow and shape us and kind of what it means like in the future and how they're part of the journey, but they're not meant to stay. That's not how I want to word it.
It's whatever. It's not really, I feel like it's
Alrighty.
not a big deal.
Um,
Basically
we're
how
trying-
we how like how we're envisioning, how we're feeling that they're going to be a part of our lives in the future is changing.
yeah,
Like at first I thought it was going to be absolutely no connection whatsoever, no part of it at all. And now that the farther that we are going into this journey and the closer we're getting to the new earth, I don't think that's completely the case where they're completely cut
yeah,
off, especially like our circumstances. It's different for everybody, but
yeah,
with our situations, I don't think that's the case right now.
yeah. So maybe should I say like in what role they'll play in the future?
Mm. Yeah, from what we're thinking as of right now.
Okay. All right. So next week we'll discuss karmic partners, what they are and how they've helped us grow on our journey and what kind of role that they'll play in the future. So we'll see you next week.